Hi, Chris. You're muted.
I know I didn't want background noise coming in, interrupting the conversation.
I don't know if you've heard any of what we've been talking about. We've had
Only
a
the
really good
last like 2
conversation,
minutes.
though. That's
I'm
nice.
gonna have to rewatch it.
So
tomorrow.
Carly basically said that the manuscript has changed his way of view on the puzzle completely, and he no longer believes anything in the back of the book is correct or helpful in any way, and that he thinks that you are the new king of the secret and all of your ideas are great. Carly, that's basically what you said, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Carly, it's
No.
good to see you in person for the first
Yeah,
time.
you
I
too,
don't
Chris.
think we've been on.
I didn't
Carly's
know
one of
Carly
the first person I remember interacting with, like when I got into the secret.
Yeah. That's the thing that, like, something that I've always respected about Carly is no matter if you agree with him or not, he will have a conversation with you. And most of the time, unless you are just a direct asshole, he's respectful about it. Like there, it's like I said about Alan, about Anagram Guy. Like there, it doesn't matter if you disagree. You just want to have that conversation, you know?
I love debating people. Like to me, that's part of the fun. Back in the day when, I don't know, Adam was around here, like that wasn't very fun.
I mean, he's still around. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah.
I just don't read the YouTube comments anymore.
Exactly.
I learned my lesson.
I don't know, man. I was even a dick to you, Carly, and I think I was just so stuck in my ways. But then I realized, like, and I think it was Chris and Phil and John that made me realize it. Like, we really are missing something. It's not just we're not digging in the right holes. We're not digging at the right spot. And that kind of made me rethink everything. I still don't know how much I buy about the back of the book, but it doesn't matter whether I buy it or not. That conversation is what's important.
Sure. It's not for everybody.
The back of the book's a spectrum, I think. Like, if people like to make things true or false, black or white, right or wrong, back of the book or no back of the book, right? But like in the spectrum from the back of the book is integral and required to solve the puzzle, to like towards the middle, like the back of the book can be confirmational or have things that like let you know when you've got something, all the way to the back of the book is not relevant to it at all. Like I think there is a spectrum there that can be taken into account. It doesn't have to be one extreme or the other. Like at the 982 train or the 82 train being in there alone like tells us that it's somewhere on the spectrum.
There's something there. You just got to figure out what that something is and how to apply it.
Whether the question always then is like whether it's like this starting point, like you need to take something from the back of the book and apply it, versus figuring something out in the verse or the painting or whatever and seeing it echoed in the back of the book, and like how that flow works, I think is.
There were two polarizing questions that I asked Carly. I already know your answer to one of them, and so does everybody else, so I'm going to skip it. But I want to ask the second one to you, Chris. All of the stuff that's come out this year, from the manuscript to the gift giver stuff to the painting or whatever, has it been good or bad?
How general are we gonna like?
That's just the question, man. You can answer it however you want to answer it.
I think
for the community, for the secret.
For the secret, I think it's good, because if nothing else, it's just more data points to show us. Well, the manuscript shows us the evolution of the puzzle. That it wasn't just Byron had this like moment of genius and decided like here's the thing. It's actually it was changed and it was tweaked. Dark turned to light, stuff happened, like just being able to get into his head a little bit more. A lot of times these ad hominem arguments are so frustrating because people are like, well, Byron would have never done that. And I'm like, how do you know that Byron would have never done that? So now we're maybe I don't want to say we're were there, but like we can see the changes he made, and we can say like Byron did make this change. So I think that is good. I think the gift giver is good because, well, the first gift giver post was good because it was like, wow, we are really missing something here.
Yeah.
If this is accurate and if it's true and we believe what we're being given, there's obviously stuff that we're glossing over or not getting into. But for the community as a whole, I think it's also caused a lot more confusion, a lot more wild, like explosions of ideas,
Yeah.
and perhaps has, for as good as it's been to show us what we're missing, it's also what's the word I'm trying to think of, like spread it out more. People are going way all over the map instead of trying to hone in on things that are similar and work together. People are just like out on the fringes with their pet theories.
Here's a good question for both of you, I guess starting with Carly. Do you think people focus on the cities too much? Like, do you think, because so many people argue about like correct cities or correct whatevers, do you think that argument, like trying to prove that broad part of this puzzle, do you think people focus on that too much instead of focusing on the smaller parts of the puzzle, like how to interpret X or how to interpret Y? You see what I'm saying? Like steps that have been taken long ago.
Yeah.
Do you think we argue over those too much?
I mean, there's always going to be people that are willing to look at things with their own point of view and kind of go through that process that happened a long time ago. And maybe they end up at the same place, maybe they don't. But regardless, I don't see anything bad in that. And honestly, I think that there's some macro level stuff going on in some of these puzzles that is relevant, even though it might not be in the right city. So I'll give you an example with Houston. The large column in the front looks like Reunion Tower. And it was probably done, I would guess, as a little bit of a challenge, right? A little bit of a red herring. If you were trying to figure out, is it Houston or Dallas? And there's even stuff in the field guide that kind of throws those two cities up against each other within the text. And so if you're looking at that and you're thinking, man, this is Reunion Tower, it's in Dallas. But then all of a sudden you see that Houston Street runs right next to Reunion Tower. And then you find the latitude and longitude numbers in the painting. And so you're almost like, okay, sort of like how the Cleveland painting had a Liberty Bell in it for Liberty Street, right? Maybe this is supposed to be Reunion Tower, but you're supposed to get out of it Houston Street so that you go to the town of Houston.
Right.
So it almost just confirms things. Now I've gone like way down the Reunion Tower rabbit hole. I've looked at things that it was in, like the TV show Dallas. Like I think there's a scene in that where like they're filming at the top of that, and what they're talking about in that scene, I believe, is very relevant for the Houston puzzle. Go out there and watch it if you can find that episode on like Prime or something like that. Go watch the episode that they filmed at the top of Reunion Tower, and tell me if something. Light me up in the comments. Let me know if you find something in that scene that you think could be relevant to the Houston puzzle, because I definitely found something. There was also a movie that I found that to me seemed very, very kind of relevant, called the Lathe of God, or the Lathe of Heaven, actually, where they use that as part of their thing. But yeah, anytime I find something like that that's like a pop culture tie-in, I always go down that rabbit hole to see where it leads.
But can't we, everything that was just said, can't we squash it by saying Byron sent out an email that said there was a Casper 8 in Houston?
You could.
So
but
what's the point of having?
There still could be a clue with the Reunion Tower in Dallas that's relevant, though. Like that's the same thing I'm talking about with the back of the book stuff. it's like tangential, right? It's off to the side, but it still has meaning for what we're doing over here.
Right, but that's more of a smaller intimate clue of the puzzle, and not one of the more broad things like what cities are correct.
I mean, personally, I'm good with the latitude and longitude numbers. I'm good with the rebus in Milwaukee being the reason that they didn't use it, because it's really close to the Chicago numbers. Like, I'm good with all the sort of rational thinking on all those things. What interests me the most is, like, with the latitude and longitude numbers, why are some of them mirrored? Like, if they're mirrored, maybe we need to mirror the painting. Like, if the rebus is backward in Milwaukee, maybe we need to mirror that painting to figure out some small part of it. Maybe
Yeah.
not the whole thing, but at least something of it,
I got you.
because Charleston has one of the numbers is mirrored. So maybe we're supposed to mirror something, and one of those pieces in the Charleston puzzle might be, you might only figure it out once you mirror the image.
And maybe those things are like John was saying, where sometimes you have to use mirrors. Maybe that's telling you the portion of the painting that needs to be mirrored, or somewhere around here you need to mirror something or look for something that's mirrored.
Because Houston has one too. The one, ironically, it's the one that got chopped off. We didn't see that number until we got that picture of the painting, right? And then we saw that I think it's the 29 is all the way off on the edge of the painting, and it got chopped in the book. You don't see the whole number, but it is mirrored. And like I told you earlier, right? The litany talks about the dawn. And if you're going to get those shadows to go in the correct direction, you have to mirror the painting to get that. So,
Okay. I think I know Chris's answer to whether or not we should be arguing about the cities.
I think we should not be arguing about the cities.
So
I mean, it takes a lot of space, right? And it takes a lot of it's like arguing about the cities is the distraction, I guess, is like the biggest statement I can make about it. It keeps people arguing and not like focused and working on stuff. But
yeah, that's probably the best way I could hear anybody explain it.
I don't really get involved with those threads anymore. Like, I'll just skip them.
Yeah,
People
it's like,
wanna-
what's the point?
Yeah, if people want to argue about it, that's fine. And I'm not going to tell anybody that they can't look in a city that isn't one of the ones that we think. Like, do your thing. Like, you want to look somewhere else, look somewhere else. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything to me and what I'm doing. So